Business Foundations for Mums, with me, Kate Butcher, is the podcast to listen to if you are a mum who is ready to launch your business, not sure where to start, or wanting to turn that sideline into something more serious. It will be full of practical tips, mindset advice, and inspirational and honest interviews with mums who are juggling business and motherhood, supporting mums in business to turn your dream into a reality. So, hello and welcome to today's podcast. And here today on Business Foundations for Mums, we have got Sharon Goodway with us. And Sharon is here to talk about the first year that she's just passed her first year anniversary in business and what that first year was like running her business, which is Nails by Sharon Gabrielle. So I'm going to hand you over to Sharon, who can give you a little bit of an introduction to herself, her business, and how that fits in with family life for her. So welcome to the podcast, Sharon.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It's lovely to have you on.
Thank you.
So let us know a bit more information about yourself. Tell us about how your business started, how it fits in with family, all of that kind of thing.
Okay, so basically I started training in the July of 2022. And I've always been quite creative, but before that I was working in finance, and I'd been working in finance for 16 years. Absolutely hated it. I don't even know how I got into finance because I hated maths at school, but somehow I got into it. And then it was just one of those things where you're just stuck in a ruck, and you just every day is just the same. But I started training in nails because before that I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkins lymphoma, and it was in my eye. And excuse the pun, but it opened my eyes to how there's more to life. And I just couldn't stay sort of being in the same job, coming home, being stressed, taking it out on the kids. So I decided to sort of just take a leap and try something new. So I trained in nails, trained in biosculpture, and head office is actually 10 minutes away from me. So I was kind of like, that's kind of fate. Like this should happen. So I trained. I absolutely loved it. I've always been creative, always had my nails done. And then I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. So I handed in my notice. And then in the December 22, I started my nail salon full time, and it's just been going from strength to strength since then. I trained in pedicures, and I absolutely hate feet, but I just want to keep just pushing myself and just learning new skills, and it just works around the kids and being able to sort of show them that you don't have to stay in a job that you hate. And my daughter, she's 13, she said to me twice now she's proud of me, and I'm like I love that. I want them to know that they if you want something, you work hard for it, you can have
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah,
So,
fantastic. And there's nothing more you can ask, really, is there, than to be an
exactly.
inspiration to your children and
Yeah.
show them the way forward, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh,
and it's
that's
working around
amazing.
school hours as well. I mean, if anybody is like on the cusp of like whether or not to do it or not, it's scary. It is scary, but the benefits it outweighs everything.
Fantastic. So you've still got school runs. How old are your children then, Sharon?
My daughter is 13, so she's in secondary school, so she walks to and from herself. But my son's 7.
Okay, so that little bit younger, and it's good still at that age to be able to be there for the school drop-offs and the pickups and all of the things that you need to do as a mum.
Yeah, exactly. If they've got an assembly on, I mean, the communication at school is rubbish, so it's like lastminute.com. But yeah, if I don't have a client in, then I can go and see the assembly. Whereas before, I'd be like, oh, asking the boss, can I have the afternoon off, or can I work from home? And there's none of that. So
Absolutely.
it's amazing.
Fantastic. So you've gone from a shift from working in finance to working in nails. I mean, it's literally polar opposite, isn't it? But I think that's a real sort of testament to the fact that, as you said, you're a creative person, and clearly
Mm,
that creativity wasn't being fulfilled in the
no.
finance role that you had. And I mean, just the words that you use, being stuck in that rut, and it really does show why it's so important to follow your dreams and do something that makes you feel a lot happier and fulfilled. And like you say, it is hard and it is scary and it's not an easy thing to do, but the benefits are there and it absolutely is worth it. When you can be there for your kids and mm,
Yeah, I mean, I'm turning 40 this year, and like my brother keeps like winding me up. He's like, "Oh, you're turning 40," and I'm like, "Yeah, but look at what I've accomplished.
mm,
Like, it's
absolutely.
amazing to be able to be my own boss
Yeah.
and like be able to sort of show my kids what I can do, and rather than still being in the office job and hating like Monday mornings, like, oh my gosh."
Yeah. I think one of the things that you touched on actually is something that I really resonated with me was when you sort of said that you were going to a job that you hated and it was causing you lots of frustration in yourself, but also, that coming home and being grumpy with the kids as well, because that's something that for me, I was definitely really conscious of that. And for me, doing what I do and having working to my own time frames, and if I need some self-care time because I know that that kids are pushing all my buttons, I can make sure that I fit that into my week and I can fit that into my days. And it does make a really big difference in how you interact with your family, whether you're happy, whether they are happy. It has a real knock-on effect, doesn't it, in terms of family life.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that I was taking it out on them,
Mm,
but you can't sort of get out of that mindset, and you can't sort of shift it, and then you go to sleep and then you dread going to bed because then you've got to get up the next day and then do the commute, and it was just a knock-on effect of just negativity. And it wasn't anything to do like with the people that I worked with, like they were all lovely,
mm.
but it was not where I saw myself being. I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah, you said that trigger for you was having the non-Hodgkins lymphoma.
Yeah.
So what was it that shifted and changed? Because again, you mentioned mindset. Your mindset when you were going to work every day was, you knew you weren't in the right mindset. What was it that shifted within your mindset at that time?
I think it was just like, I mean, when anybody finds out that they have cancer, you automatically think, am I going to be here for my children? Am I going to
Mm,
see them grow up?
mm,
And it was all through COVID time. So, but I was quite lucky to have my treatment quite like straight away after we found
mm,
out. And then I think it was the fact of, if I can survive cancer, then I can survive anything. It gives you this kind of like superpower like mentality.
mm,
Um, and I just thought, there's no point of like putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. I just need to just bite the bullet and do it. I mean, the cost of living was like a great time to start your own business, but if I don't do it now, I never will. And it's the same with everything in life. Like if you wait until you can afford to have children, you'll never have children. So
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah. And if you're constantly waiting for the right time to start your business, there will always be a reason why
exactly,
now is not the right time.
exactly.
So yeah, it's a really inspiring reason. And I think not only you've mentioned there about that for you, it made you sort of decide that you wanted to have your own business as part of that. But I think one of the things as well is that it makes you value your time, doesn't it? And really think about what you want from life. And being stuck in a job that you're not happy with is not where any of us want to be, really, is it? And a lot of people do feel that. So, yeah, absolutely. Well, taking that leap, as you say, cost of living just after COVID, it's a big leap to take, but you've absolutely proved, haven't you, that if you want it, then you're going to make it work for you.
And that's the thing. And it's like I did a reel on my Instagram not that long ago, and it the amount of likes and comments I got from it was amazing. And it was just basically a reel, and it said, if you went to Costa twice a week, then you would spend like £13 on coffee.
Mm,
Then you times that by 4, it was then like I think £52 or something. And I was like, that costs more than a gel manicure. So it's it's just changing like like now I'm like, well, okay, takeaways, we need to just like cut down on the takeaways. But if you want something, then you just have to just change what's priority, and then yeah, you find a way.
Yeah.
Like it's completely doable. It
Yeah.
really is.
And I think that's very true of cost, but also of time.
Yeah.
If you really want something, you will make the time to do it. You will find the time to do it. So yeah, absolutely the case. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So in terms of starting your business, did you have any specific fears before you started?
Yeah, I was terrified.
Was there anything in
um,
particular that made you feel terrified?
I think it was just everything. I mean, I was then like, what if people don't like me? What if like, I mean, I'm once you know me, I'm quite a bubbly person, but before then I'm quite shy. So I was like, well, how do I talk to somebody for 2 hours? Like, and it's quite intimate, like in like this little space. And it's like,
Mm,
how do you sort of like keep the conversation going? And what if they don't like their nails? And what if they don't last? And what if, and it's just what if? But a lot of my clients are mums. So that straight away then is an easy sort of conversation starter.
mhm,
Um, and I've just been really lucky with the clients that I've had. They've like touch wood, they've all been lovely, and it's amazing because a lot of them are people that I wouldn't necessarily meet like in the real world.
mhm,
So it's just been really nice to then meet these like women who of all ages, with all these like backstories and life stories. And yeah, I think that once I got over that fear, I mean, I still do get nervous when I do have a new client, but it's
mhm,
not as nervous.
mm,
And then the other thing was just being able to like provide for my family, especially when you go from an office job and you have that type of wage, going to then starting your own business and you have all those outgoings. This was a shed and we converted it, so we had all of that outgoings and cost. Yeah, that was a massive fear. But like I
mm,
say, you just have to then stop having a takeaway like every week and stop
mm,
this and stop that. And the kids have been amazing because they I think they've sort of seen how much I've been putting into the business, so they're not wanting as much, I guess.
mhm.
um, but yeah, so I think yeah, the fear of the cost, and then the fear of people not liking me.
Yeah. So you talked about your two main fears, one of which was the costs associated with running a business and obviously the impact that that would have financially. So being a business where you're doing nails, you obviously have quite a lot of outlay in terms of the products and the equipment that you need to use. So I imagine that was quite something that was quite a challenge for you.
Yeah, because I mean, so the salon that I work in it was our shed. It was basically just a dumping shed. So just the cost for initially just converting that, and then you can't be a nail technician and only have 5 colors. Like you need to have choice, and you never know what colors people are going to want. So
Mm,
there's yeah, that first sort of, well, the first year really, that cost was, it was quite substantial.
mm,
um but I think it's like with any business really, you have to put in to actually be able to,
mm.
to get out.
Absolutely. You do. You always need to invest in a business
Yeah,
to make it successful.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. And so presumably you sort of worked out what your break even costs were and how many clients you would need to cover all of those costs and how long it would take. So that can be quite a difficult time in business when you know that you need to keep making that money just to cover the costs before you even make any profit on a business.
yeah, that's the thing. It's quite, it is daunting. It is really daunting, and not
Mm,
knowing sort of what your pay is going to be, the next month and the next month. Whereas when you're in an office job, you know how much money you're going to get.
mm,
Or when it's, half term coming up, like normally if you take that week off, you get paid holiday. When you're
mm,
self-employed, you don't get paid holiday.
absolutely.
um so there's a lot of factors that you have to sort of take into account, but you just have to just keep plodding along and just keep pushing yourself out there and trying new things and sort of getting people to get on the seat and then become regulars.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, one of the other things that's really important to factor in therefore is your pricing. So when you are pricing the work that you do and the appointments that you do have, you've got to factor in the fact that maybe next week is half term, and you've got to make sure that those costs are covering what effectively would be your holiday pay and would be your sick pay if you have to take some time off when you're not well, and all of those additional costs that do make a difference in business, definitely. So pricing is definitely something which I think is always a challenge when you start a business. You're not sure how to price yourself, and you look at other people. And I mean, I know a lot of people who look at other businesses and they think, gosh, they're charging quite a lot. But then when you factor in all of those different things, you realize why small businesses do charge maybe a little bit more than, you know, somewhere that's a chain or a branch of a bigger business would have to do. So
Yeah, and that's the thing with pricing as well. And it's quite hard, like in the nail industry, because a lot of nail technicians, they price as per Sally down the road. They don't price as per their situation and their costs and their training.
mm,
And it's quite a big subject, because there's a lot going on at the moment on Instagram where people just aren't pricing correctly.
mm.
And then because you can get, a £20 gel manicure in town, people then will come to me and be like, well, you're really expensive. It's like, no, I'm not expensive, I'm correct.
Yeah,
Like, pricing as
absolutely.
per my situation, as per my costs.
Mm.
uh, if it's a business, it
Yeah.
has to profit.
And
But
you have to cover your time as well. I think one thing that a
exactly,
lot of business owners forget to do is to charge for their time or charge appropriately for their time. And I've had a similar conversation with someone I know quite well recently, who had somebody who was a competitor to her locally in her particular industry. And it's someone that, you know, a few people had sort of commented and said, wow, she charges such a low amount. And when you look at what she was charging, she was just about covering the costs of her products. And she wouldn't have been charging anything for her time. And you kind of have to wonder how on earth some business owners can make it work when they're not charging for their time effectively, and they're not incorporating all those costs into the prices that they're charging. And they may get lots more business to start with because they are charging less, but in the long
yeah,
term it's not sustainable, and the business won't last if you carry on like that. So yeah, charging is a really key point.
yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Because they, like you say, they'll get, 20 people in at that low price, but those 20 people won't stay loyal to them if they
Mm.
then start charging correctly. And
Absolutely.
that's not what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. And the other thing that you said was a big fear of yours was whether people would like you, which I think that's a fear that a lot of us have. And it's something that I think a lot of us, well, for a lot of people, it takes time, doesn't it, to
Yeah,
work through those mindset fears, and to know that actually people buy from people. People
yeah,
buy because of the know, like, and trust factor, because you're somebody that they do like. And the fact that your business has been going so well in the first year, I think is just testament to that, isn't it? That people obviously do like you. And I think once you start to push past that
yeah,
fear, and start to realize that people are coming back because they do like you and because they like what you deliver for them, that can be it can be a factor that a lot of us struggle with, and a reason why a lot of us don't put things out on social media as much as we maybe should, because you worry what people will
yeah.
think about it. But
That's
actually,
the
it's
thing.
so important to do that.
I've tried to sort of not so much go live, but I've tried to put videos of me out there more, and
Mhm.
people can actually see. Because I think sometimes when you do see a face behind the business, then you're like, oh, that's an actual person. Like,
Yeah,
and then you can relate more to them rather than it just being
absolutely.
a logo. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's scary like this. It's scary, but I think when you push yourself out of your comfort zone, you find you might actually like something, and it just goes up and up and up and up.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, a big part of business is that constant pushing through your comfort zone, isn't it? And constantly doing something that pushes you a little bit further and moves you further on with what you're doing. So yeah, it's a really important part. Absolutely. Fantastic. And when you actually decided to take the leap and to start your own business, did you leave your job straight away and then start the business, or did you have any overlap?
Not really. I qualified in the July. I handed my notice in the August, but I had been in that company I'd been there for 8 years. So I thought I wanted to give them quite a bit of sort of notice. So my last day was the end of November. But whilst I was then sort of still working, I was then working as a nail tech in the evenings, just to try and sort of build up my clientele. But obviously, there's only so much you can fit in the evenings. So I thought, right, I need to definitely be by December. I need to be doing this then full time. And I love Christmas, so I was like, Christmas, no luck, yay!
Fantastic. Because we actually tried to book this interview in December originally. I think I spoke to you towards the end of November, and now here we are in January. But you were so busy with appointments for December that we couldn't fit in a time to do the interview because, I mean, again, Christmas, there was so many people, I guess, want their nails done for Christmas, for Christmas parties, for all the things that they're doing around Christmas. It must be a really busy time.
It is, and I mean, I did take 2 weeks off as well because I thought I need time off for me, for the kids, for the family. But yeah, it was a very manic 3 weeks. A lot of red, a lot of glitter, but yeah, it was good.
Fantastic. That's fabulous. And in terms of the fears that you now still have to work with, what are the things that you're still struggling with in terms of fear, or the fears that you're still pushing past? You talked about a fear already, coming on today. You were feeling a bit nervous because you'd never done a podcast interview before. What other sort of fears do you find that you're still having to work your way through?
I mean, the finance, I think those fears are always going to be there because, the more that I invest in the company, the more money I'm putting in, the more me that I'm putting in, it all costs, like nothing's free. So the finance is definitely a fear. And I think even though that like my first year has gone really well, I think someone said to me the other day that it takes like 3 years for a business to actually then like grow and to be where like make it or break it type thing. So I think there's always a fear in the back of my mind that, it might not work. Like it's working now, but 6 months down the line, it might not work. So yeah, so whether or not in 3 years' time, it's whether or not I'll still be sort of making the money and bringing the money in and bringing the clients in. But the way then I sort of go about that is I've just recently joined up to a beauty business coach program. So when I first started, I was aiming much, this is my business. So I'm not gonna get help from anybody else. I'm gonna do everything myself. I'm gonna do all the bookings myself. I'm gonna do everything myself. And now I have a booking system. So that takes time off so I can then do more work or be with the family. I'm now invested in this beauty coach, so that can help bring more clients in. It's very much now, if the help is there, you have to take it. You can't just rely on yourself doing it. It's okay to sort of take help from others. So I think that's probably my fears are still.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the fact that you said that it's working for you at the moment, it gives you something to grow on. For most businesses, they're not profitable after the first year and not normally profitable until the end of year 3. So if it's working now and you can see that it is starting to create profit for you, then you can look ahead and look at the growth that you can have, particularly if you signed up to a coaching program. That should hopefully push you in the right direction for growing your business as well. I love the fact that you're systemizing and streamlining things as well, because that is the key step to growth. Everyone has to start somewhere, and we start our businesses and we get started, and there's all the things you do in the startup phase. But the first stage of growth is about starting to streamline, to automate, to systemize. And it sounds like you're already in that sort of growth stage, which is normally the stage that does come after the first 3 years. So you're getting ahead of the game and getting the processes systemized, which is so important. And is obviously, as you said, is having a positive knock-on effect on the time that you've got available to work on the business as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. And especially being a mum, like you only have so many hours a day, and it's hard because you do get mum guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'll be on my phone talking to a client and I'm like, oh no, I should be doing stuff with the kids. And it's mum guilt.
So yeah, the mum guilt is real, absolutely, and it's something that all of us mums definitely have to face. And if you're not working on your business and you're spending time with the family, you're feeling guilt that you're not putting enough into your business. And if you're not with your kids and you're working on your business, then you're feeling the guilt that you're not spending enough time with the kids. And I definitely feel it. I mean, there are times at the weekend when I really need to get something done, and they spend a lot more time on their tablet than they should be. And that's just the way it is sometimes. And yeah, you do. I do come away feeling, that weekend was spent far too much time looking at screens and not actually doing constructive activities that we could have been doing. So yeah, it's definitely a very real thing for all mums. And I don't think there's a time when that stops, to be honest. So
No, I don't think so.
would you say that's the area of business that you find most challenging, or is there another area of the business that you find is a challenge for you?
Marketing is quite a challenge because there are just there's so many nail techs out there. So, and I do a lot of advertising on Facebook. It's how I get majority of my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just trying to sort of cut through all the competition and get to those rock star clients.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the wording and it's the posts, it's the photos. So all of that is it does get quite challenging. But then in this beauty coach program that I've signed up to, she covers marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully I just need to instead of just trying to get anybody on my chair, I need to get the rockstar clients and just speak directly to them.
Absolutely.
Which I sometimes do, because I sometimes think, well, how would I, if I saw my post and I was that client, how would I just carry on scrolling, or would that catch my attention?
Yeah.
But it's just trying to sort of like, yeah, get the right word in. And so yeah, it's marketing. It's hard though. There's so many social platforms out there. Like I've just started to use TikTok and I'm like, that's so overwhelming.
Yeah. No, TikTok is, I have to say, it's not my favorite. I'm not a video. I mean, videos just not. I do a lot of live videos. I say that I do a lot of live videos on Facebook and on Instagram. And actually, I've stopped doing them live because what I find is I want to use the same videos on both platforms. So it's just much easier to record it as if it was live and then upload it to both platforms separately.
Yeah, so now you can't do it like together.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pain that you can't do them both together. I think I probably would be able to if I was sitting at my desk and I had one device, my phone there and my laptop there, and I could do both of them together. And I have done that in the past. But actually, most of the time when I do my lives, it's when I'm out walking the dog. So I don't have two devices with me when I'm doing that. I've got the dog in one hand and the phone in the other, and that's it. But yeah, it is challenging. It is time consuming, definitely. I think time is one of the biggest things that people underestimate with the amount of time that you have to put into your marketing, because we are, like you say, so oversaturated with content. And then when you're again then looking at your specific industry, we can be really oversaturated with the amount of different posts we're getting from the same industry. So yeah, it is about finding who your ideal client is, absolutely. And presumably you've done some work around your ideal client avatar and the language they use and what they're interested in and what is going to stand out to them, because you're talking about whether they would be interested in your posts, whether they would stop scrolling. So you've obviously sort of done that research already around that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my passion. So I love nail art. So like my main big passion is nail art. But then I have a package where I help nail biters, and I've helped nail biters. I had 15 last year, which was amazing. And it's the confidence that, like, people think you get nails done and you just getting the nails done. It's not. It's like the confidence somebody gets from getting their nails done.
Yeah.
It's a big thing. And even just the time out that they've got now from just sitting down for 2 hours, and it's not, mom, I'm hungry. There's none of that in the background. And they can just have their me time. They can have a rant. Like I've got a few clients who said it's like having therapy. And it's just like,
Fantastic.
it's just, yeah, they can just offload, and I'll just let them do it whilst doing their nails and making them look pretty. With
Fantastic.
the nail biters, it's just been amazing to actually like help them.
That's a real, I mean, that's a niche. I haven't come across anyone else doing that. So that's a
Mhm.
really good niche to be focusing on, definitely.
Yeah, I've had a
Fantastic.
few where they have gone to another salon before and they were told their nails were too short for gels. I was like, come to me. I will help you.
Oh,
And now these
fantastic.
women own nail files. So I'm like, whoop.
Yay. I mean, I go through phases. Half of my nails are bitten at the moment and half of them are reasonable. But yeah, I go through phases where more often than not, at least one of them is bitten down and is short. So yeah, it does make it tricky, definitely, to get your nails done or to do anything with your nails when you've got
Yeah,
all different lengths because you've been nibbling at them or whatever
yeah.
it is. So yeah, absolutely. Amazing. And in terms of business advice, would you say that there's a particular piece of advice that you have been given since you started your business that's really stuck with you?
Stay in your own lane. Absolutely. There's just, when I first started, I was looking at this person, looking at that person, looking at this. Like, what? Why did they only take an hour and a half? Why do they like just no?
Mm,
Stay in your own lane. Everybody has started at some point, but they might be 10 years, 20 years
mm,
down the line. Like you just
absolutely.
can't get so focused on what everybody else is doing and their situations are different. And yeah, stay in your own lane. It's definitely the best advice, I think.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a really good bit of advice because you could get so tied up in comparing yourself to everyone. And like you say, everyone's at a different stage of business, everyone has a different focus. Most people probably have a different aim as to what they want to achieve within their business. And by looking at those other people's businesses, you know, you're a completely different person to them. Everything
Exactly.
should be, you know, done your way and what works for you. So yeah, that's a really good bit of advice. I think that's a key bit of advice, definitely, that everyone needs to take heed of, definitely. Do you have a favorite business tool as well that you use?
So I use a lot of Canva. I love Canva. It's just
Well, do you know what? The last interview I did, I think I said to the lady about 90% of the people who come on my podcast say that their favorite tool is Canva. I think we're
oh, that's
probably up to about
fun.
95%, if not more now. Everyone loves Canva. I mean, to be honest, this podcast should just be an advert for Canva, really, because everyone recommends Canva. What is it you love so much about it?
It's just, I think the ease of it, I think the amount of templates that you can choose from, the way you can, I always like change the background to like, I've got a style. So I always
Mhm,
change backgrounds so it then matches my business.
mhm.
It's just, oh, I love it. It's just, and even just then, like for home life as well, like my friend asked me to design a birthday invite for her daughter the other day, and I did it in 2 minutes. She was like, "Oh my God, how did you do that?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Well,
Absolutely. My kids love my Canva account so much so I've now set them up with a student account each.
oh,
They're only
really?"
10 and 8, but you can get the free student account, which um, you get a few more features than if it's the just a normal free account.
Yeah.
But yeah, they absolutely love it. But yeah, they kept going on to my Canva account and like making like really obnoxious images. You know, my 8-year-old, or he was probably 7 when he started playing around with it, and there was sort of all these like crazy cats all over the place. And I was like, I
Oh,
don't really want this on my business account. You can have your own Canva account. Thank you very much. But yeah, it is. It's and you like you say, you can use it for all sorts, can't you? I
yeah.
use it for business stuff, but equally I do personal stuff on there, and I've got multiple businesses, so I've got different businesses. But if you do have the paid account, you can put your brand colors on there as well, which is
Yeah.
great. So that your colors are always available to you at the click of a
Mm.
button without having to search for the right color hex codes or whatever it may be. So yeah, it is a fantastic tool, isn't it? Absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful.
Love it.
Amazing. And do you have a favorite book that you would recommend to mums in business, whether it be audio or physical book?
So when I was starting to sort of think about leaving and started the training, I was listening to an audio book. It's got a swear word in the title though, so I don't know if I can say
I'm
it.
sure it will be fine.
It's Get Rich Lucky Bitch.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, it's just that was just quite crucial in my mindset change. I
Mm,
think it just really sort of the whole manifestation, the whole universe is listening to you. I was always a bit like, um,
mhm,
I think it definitely does. It definitely does make a difference. If you're thinking positively, if you're doing things positively, you get it in return. So that's definitely, I think that's definitely a good book to listen. But I've also just listened to an episode on a podcast by Mel Robbins called Them.
Called, sorry.
Let Them.
Let Them. Okay.
Yeah. And it basically just says, instead of like something happening and you go, oh, but what if this, and oh, but what if that, and oh, but just let them. Like if somebody like doesn't want to book in, or they do want to, like, just let them. Like don't stress yourself about it. Just let them. So I keep going around telling my friends, I'm like, go and listen to this. It's really good.
Amazing.
Mind blowing.
Fantastic. So yeah, absolutely. Get Rich Lucky Bitch. For anyone who is listening and who hasn't heard of that one before, it's one that again has been recommended before on the podcast. It's by Denise Duffield Thomas, isn't it? And it's a really, really good book. I love all of the books by Denise Duffield Thomas. They've all been really inspirational. And actually that again was, I think that was a book that I read quite early on in my own business journey as well. So when I think it was possibly the first audiobook I ever listened to. Yeah, it was a long time ago, but yeah, it was a brilliant book. And I think you're quite right in terms of the manifestation. I've always been a little bit dubious about it, but I've sort of now come to realize that effectively a lot of it is that, as you say, if you're in that right mindset, then you're going to be taking the action. It's the thinking positively, the thinking about what you can do and what you can achieve, and asking the universe to give it to you. And by doing that, effectively, it puts you in the frame of mind for actually getting on and doing it and making it happen yourself, which I think is, yeah, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you. It's a brilliant book. Definitely would recommend that one. Mel Robbins I do love, but I haven't come across that particular podcast, so I'm going to have to look that one up. So thank you for that recommendation as well.
Yeah,
fabulous.
No,
thank you. And before we finish up, Sharon, for anyone who wants to find out more about you and your business, and maybe to get their nails done, for example, you're Milton Keynes based, aren't you?
No, I'm Hemel Hempstead.
Oh, you're Hemel Hempstead. Why did I think you were Milton Keynes? There we go. You're Hemel Hempstead based. So for anyone around Hemel Hempstead area who is interested in finding out more, or anyone who wants to just find out a bit more about your business, how can they get in contact with you, or how can they find you on socials? Where can we find you?
So I am mainly on Facebook or Instagram. A lot of my clients I do mainly get through Facebook, but I do get like the odd one or two on Instagram. But yeah, I'd say Facebook is probably, and they can either go onto my page, Nails by Sharon Gabrielle, or they can just contact me directly. It's absolutely fine.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We will also make sure that those links are in the show notes as well. So if people do want to come and find your pages, they can go and have a look in the show notes. And we'll make sure that your book recommendations are linked in there as well as a link to Canva, because you've told us how wonderful it is. So if anyone does want to find out anything that you've talked about today, we will make sure that all of those links are there in the show notes and available. And thank you so much for your time today. What hopefully will not be evident to anyone listening, because we'll have done such a great job of editing, is that we've had a bit of a nightmare with recording today. My internet's gone, I think, 3 times now, where it's just, maybe even 4, where it's just cut off while we're talking, and we've had to wait for it to reconnect because we've had a storm going on today. I presume the wind has caused issues with the internet. And the locksmith arrived halfway through, so we had to pause recording. So we've had all sorts of interruptions, and then my husband started chatting and having a conversation in the next room, so I had to get up and go and close the door. So it's been one interruption after another, but hopefully this will go out as a beautifully streamlined, well edited podcast, and no one will know any different apart from the fact I've just said it. So thank you so much for your patience today in this slightly interrupted recording session, and thank you so much for chatting to me about your business, Sharon.
Thank you for having me.
Good luck with it in the future, and as we go on beyond the first year of business.
Yay. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for joining us here at Business Foundations for Mums. You can find all of our episodes, show notes and blog posts at businessfoundationsformums.co.uk, and you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook.